Hello everyone. My name is Shelby. Welcome back to my channel, Grace with Books. Today I'm going to be doing my September wrap-up while carving a pumpkin. I feel like since it's fall time, I wanted to do something fall-y for this wrap-up so it wasn't just me talking at you about books, so I thought it'd be kind of fun to do my pumpkin carving now. I've already emptied her out and roasted the pumpkin seeds, so she's all ready to go. We're just gonna carve her today, but we're gonna talk about these 7 books that I read in September. So as many of you know, September was kind of a slumpy month for me. I just didn't really have a lot of motivation to read, but despite that I did end up reading 7 books. So we are going to start talking about them now after I finish drawing a face onto this bad boy. I literally just had a Sharpie. Where did I put my Sharpie? All right, I found it. So the first book that I read in September was Blood and Honey by Shelby and I. If you watched my reading vlog, you'll know that I gave this book 5 stars, and if you would like a more comprehensive summary or look into my thoughts as I was reading it, I am happy to link that video down below so you can check it out. Blood and Honey is the sequel to Serpent and Dove, which is about a witch and a witch hunter who are forced into an arranged marriage. It takes place in kind of like a alternate history France where witches are at issue, witch hunters and the church deal with them. And these 2 people named Lou, who is a witch, and Reed, who is a witch hunter, are kind of forced into the circumstance where they have to marry, but Reed doesn't know that Lou is a witch. So Blood and Honey starts off where Serpent and Dove left off. Lou and Reed are on the run with a lot of things chasing after them and kind of have to decide what they're gonna do now. I don't think I loved this book as much as I loved Serpent and Dove. It was still really great. I still gave it 5 stars, and the ending of it left me breathless, but I don't know, it just wasn't as great as Serpent and Dove, but I still really enjoyed reading it. What really saved this book, I think, for me was the ending and how crazy it made me and how desperate for the next book I am now, even though we're probably gonna have to wait another year for it to come out. But you know, we'll get there, it's okay. So definitely a 5-star book for me, and I just recommend this series as a whole, and if you want to, definitely read it during October. I think it'll be great for the spooky season. All right, I finished the face. I don't know if I want to show it to you guys till it's done, but it's a little lopsided, I won't lie. We'll see how the carving goes. I have a little carving knife here that I got at Lowe's Food. So the next book that I read in September was Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the 2nd book in the From Blood and Ash series, which is a new adult fantasy series by Jennifer, and it is fabulous. I love this series so far. So the series is about a girl named Poppy who all her life she has been told that she is this chosen one. They call her the Maiden, and it is her people's belief that she will usher in a new era for the kingdom. Until that day comes, Poppy is basically kept a prisoner. She's not allowed to do anything without the permission of the people who watch over her. She has to cover her face so no one can even see her face but a select few, and honestly it's a very lonely existence. But when the new guard named Hawk comes in, he is basically honor bound to ensure that she reaches her ascension point. But meeting Hawk has kind of stirred up some new feelings in Poppy, and it kind of makes her question her duty and the destiny that has kind of been written out all her life. I personally think fans of Sarah J. Maas will really enjoy this book. It is a nice fantasy series with some smutty scenes, which I adore, and I love Hawk and Poppy's chemistry, and the humor is great, and the action scenes are amazing. There you go. And overall, I just think it is a quality fantasy series. Really enjoyed the 2nd book in it. I gave it 4 stars. Okay, I got one eye hole cut out, so that's positive. All right. The next book that I read in September was The Princess Will Save You by Sarah Henning, and I gave this book 3 stars. This is a loose retelling of The Princess Bride, which was one of my favorite movies of all time. And it is about the daughter of a warrior king named Amma, and she is in love with her stable boy named Luca. But when her father dies, the government of her kingdom are kind of requiring that she marry in order to rule. And one of these kingdoms that is putting forth a prince for her hand, they decide to force her hand by kidnapping Luca. So Amma, the princess, has to go on this adventure to save her true love. I personally found this book very hard to get into at first. I don't know, it was going very slowly at the beginning, and I just didn't really feel that connected to the characters, to Amma the princess, or I didn't particularly know anything about the stable boy that made me root for him. So it was just like all very quick at the beginning. It definitely got better towards the middle and the end, but what I think really brought it down to 3 stars for me was the epilogue, because it kind of took everything that we know about the story and kind of twisted. And I think it might be because of the epilogue that I don't read the second book. I'll have to wait to see what other people say. So it definitely got more exciting towards the middle, but the beginning was hard and the end was hard. I kind of tried to stick with it because, you know, I love The Princess Bride. I mean, oh, such a great movie. And I think if you like it, you'll definitely see the similarities. I do think that Sarah Henning did a good job of keeping some things from the movie, but also making it her own. It kind of just depends if it looks interesting to you at all. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting story, and it was just okay for me. Not sure if I'll continue. 3 stars. Next up, we have Unravel the Dusk by Elizabeth Lim, and I gave this book 3 stars. This is the second and final book in the Spin the Dawn series, so it is a duology, and it is a crossover between Project Runway and Mulan. The entire series is about a girl named Maya Tamarin who all she wants to do is be the Imperial Tailor, but that is a male-only position, so she decides to disguise herself as her brother and go take place in the competition, where she is asked to perform 3 impossible tasks. And if she completes them, then she can become the tailor. And there are so many other things that happen. It was crazy. I absolutely adored the first book in this series. I did not like this one as much. The book was very action-packed with lots of ups and downs for the characters that it sometimes was hard to keep track of what was happening. I also didn't fully feel like I had a grasp on the magic system, which is very important for any fantasy book. And I don't think that the magic system was explained well, so it was therefore very difficult for me to keep up with that. And there is a lot of magic that happens throughout the book, so I just wish that the author had taken more time to kind of explain that to us. Maybe if it had been a trilogy, she would have had more time to do so, but because it was a duology, things were kind of rushed in the storytelling. But it ended on a happy note, which I liked. I think it ended well for each of the characters, and they ended up where they needed to be, so I still recommend this series because the first book is wonderful, and you can't read the first book without reading the second book, trust me. Yeah, I loved the series. It was just not as great for me, this sequel. I need it to come out of its thing. It won't pop out. Okay, here we go. It looks like a little crescent moon up there. The next book we have is Star Daughter by Shweta Thakkar, and I believe that this was the August Fairy Loop book. It has these beautiful sprayed edges and really pretty inside the cover art, which I'm not going to show you because my hands are pumpkin-y. But basically, Star Daughter is a story about a girl who is half human and half star. When an accident happens and she has to save her father, she decides to go to the celestial court of her mother's family to ask them for help. But when she gets there, they tell her that they will grant her their help if she takes part in this competition to restore her family's honor. I gave this book 4 stars. I thought it was really great. It's a standalone, I believe. It seemed to finish on a standalone note. So while it was good, it was a bit rushed, as most standalone fantasies are. I think the world building was really amazing, but it took up a lot of the book and therefore left the action for the very end of the book, which I didn't love as much because it felt very rushed at the end. That being said, I really loved the introduction to Hindu and Desi culture through this book. There were times I had to look up what words were, but I really didn't mind doing it because I loved learning these new things about a culture I don't really know a lot about. And it was just very cool to have a book based on Desi and Hindu mythology because there really aren't a lot, at least that I have personally seen. So I thought it was just a really cool, different kind of book. I literally had never heard of a book where a girl is half star, half human. So it was just a very new concept, which I thought was so creative and so cool. So if you get a chance, please pick up Star Daughter by Shweta Thakar. This guy's smile is very lopsided. I don't know what you guys will think when you see it. Oh no. Alright, so the next book that I read in September is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Carrie Barnhill. So I read this book when I was deep into my slump and needed something new to pull me out, so I decided to try a middle grade. This is a book about a town called Proctorate, and every year the youngest baby gets sacrificed to the witch in the woods, and they leave this baby in the woods because they think that this evil witch is out to get them, and if they sacrifice a baby, she'll leave them alone. And while there is a witch in the woods, she is actually not evil, and she doesn't understand why this town keeps leaving out babies in the forest to die. So she scoops up the babies and takes them to kind families on the other side of the forest. One day, however, she accidentally feeds a child a bit of moonlight, thereby giving the child extraordinary abilities, so she decides to adopt the child, name her Luna, like the moon, and become that child's grandmother. So this story is definitely the definition of whimsical and magical. The writing and the characters is just so incredibly descriptive, and you just really couldn't help but fall in love with each and every person, except for, you know, the bad guy. The book does read a bit slow, which is to be expected with a lot of middle grade books because it takes so much time developing the characters and really giving you that magic sense. But honestly, at the time that I read this, I kind of needed a slow book, a book that took time to really make you fall in love with everyone, so I was kind of thankful for it. I just highly recommend this if you're looking for a good book to read. I believe it won the Newbery, so you can count on it from a lot of people that this book was just a really fabulous read. The final book that I read in September was Aurora Burning by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. Finally! I have been meaning to read this book since May. I've had it since May, and I loved Aurora Rising, and I just kept putting this book off. I don't know why, but I ended up really loving it. I gave it 4 stars. So for those of you living under a rock and don't know what the Aurora Rising series is about, it is about a girl named Ori who has been in cryosleep for over 1,000 years, even though she was supposed to wake up 6 months after they put her away. And she wakes up to this whole new universal system. She is immediately introduced to this squad, this intergalactic policing squad who has just formed, and while they don't get along great together, they're pretty funny, and they soon realize that something is trying to kill Ori. So they set out on this mission to figure out what and to try to save her. If you've ever read a Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman book, you will know that they are so incredibly funny together. It is so incredibly good, and they are just like a masterminds at character building, and it's awesome. And I really loved the first quarter of this book. I thought it was action-packed and well developed, and I think that we got a lot more from the characters we didn't see as much in the past books, so I loved hearing new perspectives and learning more about each of the characters' origins, because we also didn't get that a lot. I just thought learning about all the different galaxies and alien races was just so incredibly cool. For me, what really sucked was the last quarter of the book. I felt it was very rushed, very action-packed. I had a hard time knowing what was going on, and it felt like they were just kind of diving into the end without explaining anything, and then all of a sudden we were at the end and I was kind of left feeling like what had just happened. Other than that, I thought it was really great world or galaxy building, and I just was really impressed with this second book, and I cannot wait for the third and I think final book in this series. So those are all the books that I read in September, and now I'm gonna give you guys the big reveal on the pumpkin. All right guys, 3, 2, 1. I don't even know what I did. I was kind of going for like a Jack Skellington kind of thing, but then it just turned into this. I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe I'll turn the eyes, what were the eye holes, and make them ears. I don't know. Oh god, I hope he looks good with the candle in him. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. If you guys liked it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Hit the notification bell to get updates on when I post. I post every single Monday. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!
Butterflies are floating like your red hair in